wrong for asking my mother-in-law to leave our wedding because her perfume was bothering me? I just got married to the love of my life. I've usually gotten along pretty well with my new in-laws. Usually my mother-in-law doesn't wear perfume, or at least not any that I've been able to notice. My wife had her mother be her matron of honor, so she was standing with us up front. It was a small area, and with her right next to my wife, I was able to smell her perfume. Shortly after the ceremony started, I started to get watery eyes and sniffles. Our ceremony was supposed to only last 20 minutes max, so I thought I would just push through unless it got worse. It didn't get worse until after the ceremony when my new mother-in-law hugged me. Itchy eyes, itchy throat, and headache got added to the mix. My wife asked if I was alright, and I told her I think her mother's perfume was getting to me. We had someone go get some allergy medication. I took one, but it didn't do a whole lot, and I started to feel out of it. We get to the reception, and we started to do our group photos, and I couldn't do photos with my mother-in-law in them. I told my wife we needed to figure something out because my symptoms weren't letting up, and I didn't want to be out of it from taking more meds for our reception or have to leave our own reception. My wife asked her mother to keep some distance between us to try to make it easier for me. It didn't really. That perfume followed her like a cloud. Then my wife asked her mom to try and wash wherever she dabbed her perfume, but mother-in-law said she hadn't dabbed it on. She spritzed herself, so it was on her dress too. At that point, they said they were out of ideas and there wasn't anything we could do. I said there was one more thing and suggested that maybe mother-in-law leave to change her dress and then come back, or even just go to a nearby thrift store or something and get any kind of clothes. I'd even pay for them. I asked mother-in-law to either please to do that or leave and we'd visit later with cake because it was getting to the point that I would have to leave. My wife and mother-in-law objected to this because my wife wanted her mom there the whole time. I understand the day was big for my wife and she wanted her mother there, and I wanted her there too, but I wasn't able to enjoy my own wedding. I wound up sitting outside with some of my family and groomsmen. I started to feel better, and when I did, my wife came out and asked if I'd be going back inside. I told her no, so long as her mom was still there and hadn't changed. The night ended with my wife spending our wedding night at her parents' house. Am I wrong for asking my mother-in-law to leave?
Am I wrong for watching my boyfriend get beat up and not help him? Story time. I can't even believe I'm asking this question. So one weekend, my boyfriend asked me to watch him hoop at the park, that's play basketball for all you lames, with his friends. At first, I didn't want to go because it was scorching hot outside and I just flat ironed my hair. This is actually very important to understand. This day before he asked me, I just did my hair and got my nails done. I was looking real cute this day. The girls that know. So, okay, I go to the park. I see my boyfriend waiting for me by the court. He was like telling me that his friends couldn't come hoop with him today. I was like, oh man, thinking that we could go home. But nah, my boyfriend was like, I'm finna ask those guys if I can play with them. So note that he does not know these guys who he's finna play with, right? So he went over and talked to them, and I guess they said he can play because he started playing. So I went and sat down on the bench right by the court. At this time, I'm watching him, but also I'm on my phone. I'm scrolling through Instagram and TikTok, so I'm not really paying attention, to be honest. I don't even like basketball. I just told him I liked it because he liked it. All of a sudden, I heard one of the guys arguing with my boyfriend, but I didn't pay it no mind because that's what guys do when they play basketball. They talk noise. But my boyfriend started to raise his voice and curse, and I know my man. I know that he was serious. I can tell that this was no ordinary, friendly back and forth. Stay tuned for part 2. Okay, so I see my boyfriend getting really heated, so I get up and start walking towards him. And as I'm walking towards my boyfriend, the other guy that he was arguing with started to get in my boyfriend's face. So I run over and grab my boyfriend's hand and I'm like, come on, babe, let's go. And take note, my boyfriend was like, nah, I ain't going nowhere. The other guy was like, you better listen to your girl, man. She's trying to save you. I'm steady trying to pull my man away, but he was being real stubborn. I'm like, babe, we need to go because it's more of them than us. And you don't even have your homeboys up here. But y'all, he was not listening to me. One of the guys warned my boyfriend one last time saying, bruh, listen to your girl, go home, you don't want no smoke. That's like, you don't want no beef. And he started throwing up gang signs. So I jerked my boyfriend's arm and said, come on. Then he snatched his hand from me and slightly pushed me. Soon as I know one of the guys come up and punch him so hard that my boyfriend fell to the ground. Then all the guy's friends started to jump in. They was punching him and kicking him. I was literally in shock. I just stood there screaming. I was like, get off of him. Y'all hurting him. Get off of him. This went on for minutes, but it felt like hours until we heard someone yell, the police coming, the police coming. So the guys took off, and then I went over there and tried to help my boyfriend up. I ended up helping him to his car. I was like, are you okay? But he wasn't saying anything. I was like, do you need me to drive you home? And he yelled at me, no! I'm like, okay. Then he was like, why you didn't help me? I was like, what you mean? I am helping you. He said, why you didn't help me fight them? I was like, bro, I'm a female. What I look like fighting 5 guys? Then he slammed the door on me. He almost like slammed it on my finger. And then he drove off. So, am I tripping? Am I wrong for not helping him? Like, comment below, because I'm confused.
I used to have this really controlling roommate named Mona, and one day she decided that we were going too quickly through toilet paper as an apartment. So she went around asking everybody in the apartment how many squares we used per pee and per poop. And I said, well, obviously 3 for pee and 5 for poop, which was the biggest lie I've ever told in my life. And the only reason I knew to say that was because in high school, we went on a school trip to Portland, okay? And the first thing I did when we arrived at the hotel was destroy the toilet. I was sharing my hotel room with a girl named Diana, and when I came out, she said, oh good, I have to use the bathroom. And I said, don't go in there. And she was like, what? And I said, I did a bad thing in there, and now the toilet's clogged. And so we called downstairs to the front desk and told them our toilet was clogged, and they said, well, come get a plunger and fix it yourself. And I was like, okay, ma'am. So we went downstairs, and Diana was berating me the whole time. She was like, how did you manage this? We haven't even been here 5 minutes. How much toilet paper did you even use? And I said, I don't know, a lot. And she said, Kate, you're only supposed to use 3 squares for pee and 5 squares for poop. And I was like, what? No, that can't be enough. And she said, that should be all you ever need. And I said, well, congratulations on having the daintiest, most pretty, perfect princess poops in all the land. But I'm built different, okay? I defecate like Shrek, and I will not be made to feel ashamed of it because it is a burden enough to bear without your scorn. We're standing in the elevator. I'm holding a plunger. The door's open. All the boys that were on our high school trip with us are standing outside the elevator doors. Diana looked at them, looked at me holding the plunger, screamed, Kate did it, and then ran out of the elevator and left me there. But I always believed that 3 to 5 toilet paper squares wasn't enough for the average person. So I started to ask people in my life after that, how many squares you use for pee and for poop? And I got a ton of different answers, but the most common one, overwhelmingly, was, I don't know, Kate, that's a very inappropriate question to ask at work. So when Mona asked how many squares I used, I told her 3 to 5. And she said, yes, that's the correct amount. And she was off my back for a little bit. Later that day, I was using the bathroom in private, or so I thought. And when I came out of the bathroom, Mona was standing there. And she was like, just so you know, I didn't like follow you to the bathroom or anything weird, but I just happened to be passing by and I heard you peeing, okay? And I also heard you take more than 5 squares off of the toilet paper roll, which, like, by the way, how can you tell that I took 5 squares off? And she was like, you don't need that many for peeing. I was like, you know what, I get it, and I would love to stay and have a conversation about this, but I have important plans to go meet my friends and talk about how you're a crazy person.